I have such an anti-hair issue. Like the hair on my head falls out, but everywhere else I'm so fucking hairy.
And I said, look, we just need to know if this is going to happen or not.
Go, do you mind me asking how old you are? And I'd always be 28. I was 21, 22, 23, 24. I'd always say I'm 28, no matter what age I was.
You need to always have a pipeline of deals and a pipeline of money, but always, it doesn't really matter how far down the line they are. Nothing's ever done until it's done.
Particularly the transition into property, where my brand was, you know, I'm a singer, I'm on stage. Like that was my brand. Not like as camp and gay as that, but like
That was very
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down. Let's get those deals. Deals. Deals making money, baby.
rest of it. Whoa!
Good morning, sunshine.
Hey.
Oh, sorry,
Hey.
the kettle took a little while to boil.
What's that? My cats are mutating each other.
Me.
Hey.
Blame myself. What's happening then, gang?
Good job we know you don't drink, Dorian, because a message at 6:30 in the morning saying few minutes just making a drink. I was like, oh, early for that.
Mad.
On the heavy stuff today, mate.
Yeah,
It's a
Jack,
big
so they
mug.
wait until you die. I think they wait like 10 seconds or a minute after you're dead, like pronounced dead, and then they like inject you with this fluid that goes around your body and takes out your blood or something and just basically crystallizes in your head, tries to stave all your capillaries, and then they put you in a deep freeze, stick you in a freezer on the potential that in like 200 years, 500 years, they'll bring you back to life and you'll have your 88-year-old body back on the planet.
I can't remember what I was doing the other day. I was doing some form of like personal admin stuff, and I got asked if I wanted to be an organ donor. So I filled it out that I'd like to be an organ donor, and it just reminded me that the reason that I haven't been an organ donor today is because my dad believes that if you're in hospital and you're an organ donor and someone else is dying next to your bed, they might use your organs for them, even though there might be hope for you to be alive. So,
They just chop you up like a butcher's.
I thought they changed it.
Which organ did you tick that they can use, Jack?
All of it apart from the head.
The brain?
I feel weird about giving someone my brain. I feel that I feel that's a curse more than anything else.
But I swear they changed it, didn't they? They changed it in the UK. Now by default, you have to opt out of donation now, don't you? Not opt in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was a change that came in, or it was like a heavy political proposal. But I'm pretty sure that came in as before you had to opt into donation.
You used to be asked
now
all the
you have to
time.
opt out.
Well, shotgun.
just ask you,
If anything happens to Ryan, I shotgun his eyes and his scalp.
Oh, you
take
don't
his
want
hair.
that shit, mate. You don't want that. I've got facial hair, chest hair all day. If you want some of that shit, but
All day.
all day, mate.
You can only get free hair transplants, can you? Why? You're on your second already.
Yeah, basically,
Don't
yeah.
use up all your credits.
Yeah, but don't use up my my reserves. But there is like technology already, but it's just so expensive where they'll take out samples of your follicles and grow them in a lab, so they can essentially like multiply how much hair there is. But like, you want to spend 30-40 grand on that now, or could it be like 300 quid in the future? So
you could just take from the chest and get a bit of an afro going.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I wish we could, mate. I have such an anti-hair issue. Like the hair on my head falls out, but everywhere else I'm so fucking hairy. Like it's
so you're destined to be bald, then, are you right?
Yeah, a
You just
bold
pick it off, mate.
like.
Just
Why
have a
don't
go.
you just lean into it, mate? Why don't you just lean into it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you what. If Dorian and Stuart shave their head for you, I will as well.
all right, yeah. If we all go shaved head, yeah,
Four
but I
of
can't.
us,
I've got a fuck off scar in the
They
back.
call
of
it
my
the
head
egg
as well.
show.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we.
show.
But before we
Talking
come
eggs.
on, we have to polish our heads and then put with these ring lights.
I would love to see our businesses capital raising go like every year. There's a trajectory of growth, and then there's just 1 year where there's just no raising, and it's just because we all shaved our hair.
On our pitch deck under references, just we had one slide with the three together. Just bold.
Meet our team, Egg One.
Well, to be fair, do you know what? Yeah, all four of us have like a little bit of a hairstyle going on. I'm not saying it's crazy, but growing up until I was like 8, before I hit the boy bands at 18 or 17, I just always got like a 2 all over, 4 all over. It was just shave it all off. Like it was
To be
just
fair, I was-
easy.
I was
Your
the
parents
same
would do
as
it.
I was the
It's
same
cheaper
as
and
well,
quicker.
14.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
look
up
like a
until
chav, that was the problem.
until high school, really, I was like it for me. And then when I went to in high school, then the trend
Did you go
started
to
coming
school in
up.
America?
It was V cuts, and it was. Did anyone have
High
what was it
school.
on the side of your hair, like
Tram lines.
Tram
tram
lines.
lines and engravings? I had my nickname on the side of my head at one stage, you know.
Proper chav. Proper
Yeah,
Welsh chav.
yeah. And a tracksuit
What?
with my nickname on as well. Thinking, what the hell, like. But,
You had a tracksuit. Sorry,
yeah.
this has to be shared. You with tram lines and a tracksuit.
I had
I want to
tram
see
lines. Blonde beached like tips, a V cut, and a tracksuit with my nickname on, as well as having
D.
tram lines with my
You
nickname
have
on.
to send that into the group chat.
Wow.
If you have an image,
You
please.
read too many American lifestyle magazines, and now you got a goatee.
I think that was the time, you know, like High School
Yeehaw!
Musical came out, you know. Yeah.
Mate, D, please share an image of that if you've got one. That sounds fucking priceless. That's well good.
I suppose that's actually quite a good question to bring on, because Dorian, we talked about this and why you have a little bit of facial hair. Does
Oh,
anyone struggle with looking and being young in the industry and the businesses that we're growing? So,
well,
like,
I had my first bit.
Mm.
Like, we've all been entrepreneurial throughout our lives, most probably. But I had my first proper business, you'd call it, when I was 16, which was a letting agency. And you know, looking back now, I didn't start growing facial hair until my early 20s. Late teens anyway, definitely. So, you know, I always struggled with that kind of age. What's the word? Age discrimination. Well, it seems a
yeah,
bit of a harsh word, but basically that's what it is. And you know, I genuinely had people not do deals with me because I looked too young. Even when I set this business up, I when I set this business up, and I would send letters to landowners, and they would get agents involved, and I'd have a meeting with them. And you know, I was 23 when I set Castell up, but before that, I was in private development. Anyway, so you know, early 20s, and I'd literally be conversing via the letter and then email fine, and then go to the meeting and they'd realize how young I was, and they'd be like, whoa, you know, have you got parental guidance here?
I think I've actually got some perspective on this, because I think, particularly if I shave, I look very young. Like I might shave at some point. My missus prefers it when I'm like clean shaven, but honestly, it takes like 10 years off me. I look like a boy. That's why I worked in a boy band, because I was older but looked young. And I found that particularly the transition into property, where my brand was, you know, I'm a singer, I'm on stage, like that was my brand. Not like as camp and gay as that, but like I was,
That was
you know,
very
I was a boy band singer. I've got some tattoos to make up for it, so there's my masculinity. But to make that transition straight into property and then have conversation with investors about hundreds of thousands of pounds, it just takes conviction. If you know if you go into a conversation going, I'm younger, like I should be more polite to my elders and things like that, then you've already lost. Like you have to just be, I think, fully convicted in whatever knowledge or whatever domain it is you're doing, regardless of age, you know, race, anything like that. The second you have that preconception, then I always think it like, you know, filters off you onto the prospect or whoever you're talking to, if you're
yeah.
trying to protect something. You know what I mean?
I've always been confident, but I've actually found multiple times, and I can list back. I've got like a few scenarios where there has been age discrimination, like flat out right there in the meeting room, where they just go,
Yeah.
You are young, or you look young." You know, we did our first sort of 3 million plus deal when I was early 20s. So I've actually got one specific scenario when I'm also quite to the point and bullish. So when that comes across in a meeting and there's more senior people in the room, but I'm the one pushing the way, you do get targeted, and the first thing they target is your age. And there's one specific scenario. We had a deal that just wasn't going through. It was coincidentally with Shawbrook Bank, and the broker started getting a bit eggy. And I said, look, we just need to know if this is going to happen or not. I trust you as a broker that you need to make a decision whether we're pulling out of this application or moving on to someone else. And he didn't like the fact that I pushed him on his back foot, but it was completely the right thing to do, and I'd do it all over again. And his response was, look, Jack, I've been doing this since you were in nappies.
Yeah.
And it was on a call with our investor and obviously Ben and me. And I just sort of took it and I went, I don't think that's a productive comment. The problem is still here. What are you going to do about it? and I don't appreciate that reference, because it's kind of, you're now starting an argument. I just want to get this deal refinanced. And
Yeah.
anyway, after the call, my investor called me and said, I really liked how you handled that. So he was very fair and actually rated everything that I was doing for my age, whereas the broker got offended and just went straight for that. And I can literally list like hundreds of reasons. I met with BlackRock when I was 21, and they literally laughed me out of the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in scenarios like that with VCs before when trying to raise money for an AI app, and it's just like you can tell they're not taking it seriously. They're entertaining it, but for entertainment purposes, not for due consideration. And you're like, yeah, I'm not going to get anywhere here because I just don't have the thing that you need. But I would say that if you're like, there is there are strategies you can use if you want to try and come across in the best possible ways. And that's an example of it there, Jack, where, just no matter your age, general maturity or, consideration or the way you talk about things, that you can come across in ways that most savvy people will just trust the man and the person they're talking to, regardless of age. And most investors, I think, are generally driven by trust more than they are aptitude. Like they just want to trust people with their money. And if you can elicit trust, regardless of age, then I think investors respect that first and foremost. Then obviously there is a competency issue, which generally is correlated with age. People think if you're younger, you've not got the experience. But if you're clever, then I think that bypasses that massively. Experience is then kind of not the same
It is
thing.
interesting because if you look at, for an example, my age in our company, I'm sort of like middle of the table. So there are some employees that are younger than me, but there's a lot that are older than me. And I do sometimes find that a bit weird that, we're responsible technically for their family, their household, and, their, I've got another example actually. When we flew to America in November, Kelly and I flew first class, which is actually the first time we've ever flown first class. And the woman that I was asking for directions at Heathrow just didn't believe that I was in first class. She was just like, let me see your ticket. And I was like, I'm telling you, we're flying first class. Like, you don't need to see my ticket. Where do we go to check in at first class? And she was like, show me your ticket. I was like, fuck's sake, you showed her my ticket. She was like, oh, you are? I was like,
so,
yeah.
so that
Just
is
literally
that was
said that.
even the check-in, whatever the title is called. I was going to say clerk, but they must have a different title for that. It was just someone who was asking directions for.
Yeah, it was a BA like employee on the forecourt of Heathrow, because you don't go through normal customs and check-in when you're in first class. It's like one of the most things I was looking forward to.
Yeah, so anyway.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's getting like you now as well, Jack. When I set my first companies up all the way through, I've gone from that transition of everyone being older than me to now I've got team members that are also younger than me as well as older than me.
Yeah.
But in my head, because when you was talking there, like I've no doubt got dozens and dozens of stories as well, because I've been in so many different business environments, and I know I've 100% experienced age discrimination countless times. Is one of the reasons why my facial hair also is the way it is, styled wise. My style is the way it is, and that's also like why very recently I was doing something and I was about to shave and I didn't then, because I actually wanted to make sure I didn't look too young for the meeting I was going to go to, because it's still there. But also mentally in my head, I've kind of like blocked it a bit. So I can't really recall a lot of the scenarios to detail off the spot, because I don't know whether I've mentally like blocked a lot of them, if that makes sense. And so I can't, so I can just, so it doesn't really affect me. So I can just keep moving on, because especially in my early years of business, like the rejection you get for age, especially when you look really young, is and like being in scenarios where you're having meetings and you think you was going to do a deal and then they don't do deals purely because of your age. Obviously, it does have some impact, which I just think going forward, like I said, I mentally then like block it, because you got a choice, haven't you? You either carry on or you let it get you down.
Yeah. I think it's the I've always had the mentality that you don't react to it in the meeting, and you always just use it as fuel to the fire. Like whenever I get a rejection for something that menial, which does happen. I mean, we all go through rejection in business all the time. I just then use that for fuel to the fire. To I have that person in the back of my head, and I'll just go, well, you'll see. I don't need you, and I'll show you. And I love that. I love adding that. There's a whole crowd of people in the back of my head that I just go, cool, yeah. If that's what you think, I'll allow you have that opinion. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
Anyone
I'll,
sorry, Stu, unless you want to add something onto this, but
Stu, do you remember being young?
Yeah,
I was going to say I got this problem because I'm 10 years older than all of you lot. And the only thing I'd say is that I remember when I was selling loft conversions in London, and we would meet anyone. It could be a banker, it could be Lorraine Kelly's assistant, it would be Paul Endine used to go and probably guys don't know him, but used to run the Wheel of Fortune. So you go in these houses, and I would know because I'd be super confident about what I'm saying. And then someone would just go, do you mind me asking how old you are? And I'd always be 28. I was 21, 22, 23, 24. I'd always say I'm 28, no matter what age I was. And then I got to 28. And then it got to 30, 33, 34. And then it's like, yeah, fuck the good old days. I used to say I wanted to be 28. I was always, you guys all that around that age. But to me, that the age was giving me the sort of the validation that I sort of had enough time in the market and I've been working long enough and people would listen to what I had to say. Ultimately, I've always been tall and got on with it. And I don't shave because it's a waste of time to do that every day. If I can shave every 4 days and just get on with life, then it gives me another 20 minutes a day, half an hour a week that I can do something else with. But yeah, no, I didn't realize you boys were so like aged. I mean, it wasn't really a thing in my day. We just got on with it. And I basically, people bought for me or you didn't, but I wasn't trying to raise 3, 4, 5 million quid at 22, 23. So
I think it's different if you're offering a service and there's clarity in the service you're offering. I think people then generally will be meriting the service. Whereas when you're asking for someone's money, they're definitely meriting the man or the person and their aptitudes. And age is just an easy one for people to go, yeah, look, I understand, but you're just young and I just can't get past that. Some people won't ever see past it, but definitely on balance,
too risky in their eyes.
Because a couple of scenarios have come back to me now, like I said, because I've mentally blocked them out, but there's actually some doors being creaked open now and they're coming back. So this is kind of like
told you so.
Yeah, therapy session.
Go on.
One just like Jack, where it was literally I had an agency in my teens at this stage, and I was doing deals, and there was somebody else who was much older, been around for a lot longer. And just the comments, the snarkiness, the looking down of us, it's and then I had another one where I was raising money, and again early 20s, and a guy in a suit. I don't even know what his name is. I just remember it now. And again, the disappointment of me speaking about raising money at my age was just, there like it is as a barrier. And I just knew in my head back then when I was there as well, because I've already experienced it. I just knew straight away during the conversations, like one of those in those categories that you'll never deal with because of your age. Nothing else, just because of your age, you can't deal with. So just move on. But I was going to ask, because we're on the topic of it, and I know Jack, you was going to say something. I wanted to ask what your biggest kind of rejection was, and how did you deal with it? Because others listening, it was one of the biggest barriers of people stopping doing deals or getting into business was because of that fear of rejection, which is inevitable. I was just wondering if you guys had a top
Oh
one.
yeah, many. I mean, are we talking property or just life?
Anything really, like life rejection.
Whatever you want,
sitting down with fucking labels back in the music business, knowing we've killed it as an independent artist, million subscribers, million followers. We're trending on social media all the time. We've done it all off our own back without any investment. We still have retained full equity of our whole music business and bootstrapped it from the start. Couldn't be a better startup story. Sitting down with labels and them just being like, just ultimately disparaging and like they're like in a way where they're not even rude about it. It's just like they just don't care because you're not a label product, and there's nothing you can do. It's like trying to go through the looking glass, but it's like a bulletproof glass in front of you that unless you are from the label and unless you want to sell your life away, there's fuck all you can do about it. And particularly because you're a boy band, you're so young that these fuckers will never, ever, ever take you seriously, even if you've got all the clout and everything behind you, which has somewhat of a correlation to investors as well, because the label is essentially an investor, and just getting just never getting anywhere with it. Like never getting the labels just didn't want something that they hadn't made themselves. Not without us selling everything to do it, even though we'd already proven that the concept, the minimum viable product, if you like, that would be the most frustrating thing that I've ever had to deal with. I'd say that.
Fair enough. Anyone else?
Stu, have you got any?
I can't. I'm on about 4 hours sleep, boys, from yesterday, so I'm fucking just trying to stay here. I'm just turned up, man. I can't think of anything at the moment that it's like comes straight to my mind, so I will pass
Just
that
start
one.
checking vowels out, nouns and vowels. It's just about it.
I've got a fairly clear one.
I'm just trying to string sentences together.
So mine is actually I was working in sales. I was in an office. I was also running some small construction projects alongside. And LA Fitness, which was a big gym in Henley, shut down, and it had 3,500 members. And I was really into my fitness. Well, still am, but just work gets in the way. And I wanted to open a gym, so I secured a spot, built a business plan. And during literally, I'd be in my sales office, and I'd say to the team, just gonna go for a shit. Go downstairs, get on my 1980s Honda Cub moped, ride all the way to Henley, have a meeting with a fit out company, have a meeting with the bank, and do all this sort of stuff. So while I was still work, I was like transitioning and basically setting up a gym. Got really far down the line, had put a deposit down for the kit, designed the fit out and lined up the fit out company, got the planning for the change of use of the building, featured in the newspaper twice. Managed to get my hands on the database of the closed gym that was going. So I was pretty much geared up to go. I had about 120 grand saved up at that point. So at this point I was 21. So I could pay for the fit out. But if I was leaving my job, I'd need someone to guarantor the kit. So I basically said to my dad, can you guarantor the price of the kit for this venture? But purely because he had an income. And he basically said, yeah, sure. So anyway, literally, D-Day was coming and I needed to order the kit, and that was like the catalyst to everything else falling into place and moving into this gym, this space. And then my dad pulled. He basically said, I'm not comfortable with this. It's, out of my comfort zone. I don't want to do it, basically. And his words were, I feel like I've given you a balloon, you've blown it up and I've popped it when it's got to the right size. And that was like a big, for me, a learning of like capital raising, investment, how you need to handhold them through the journey and the story. Investors, regardless, even if they understand it or have the money, they don't always put it in. And I had to be resourceful, and I looked for other investment, ended up packaging it up and selling the gym on. But that was like the big first learning that probably someone trusts you the most still might not be comfortable with the scenario. And I think it was, if I had more business experience, that would have been a slightly different story. But yeah, that was probably the biggest uncontrollable rejection that I had. But then again, that's fuel to the fire, and that's how I think you should turn every negative energy into positive energy.
No, I agree with that, and I also found as well that asking for whether it's investors or business partners to be guarantor, what I found over the years, they're much more adverse to that than rather just putting up the money as well.
Yeah.
Because they just, even if the value is the same, that being a guarantor is as much more what comes across as a negative or riskier feeling than actually just saying, if the value of the kit's 50 grand. Here's 50 grand. I'm just I don't know what the numbers are, but you know what I mean. So yeah, no, that makes sense.
What about you, D?
Yeah, I think those were good points, mine as well. Anyone listening, Jack is right, and you've all probably experienced this too. In being this business, you need to always have a pipeline of deals and a pipeline of money, but always, it doesn't really matter how far down the line they are. Nothing's ever done until it's done. And all four of us, no doubt have had both investors pull out, even when they said right to the end they're going to still invest, and also deals pull out, even until right at the end the vendor's still saying they're going to sell to you. That literally happens. You become so numb to both things, and you don't really get excited about things anymore, and you also don't really get upset about things anymore. You just become this neutral animal. Of knowing, unfortunately, to expect the worst from it all because it happens. I said one of my biggest rejections. You know, I've had so many over the years, but one of the things that I don't like, even still to this day, and a couple of scenarios. This happened a couple of times to me. When you're going out raising money and you're putting kind of your soul on the plate type of thing, and you're trying to build a connection with potential investors, you never know. You can only prep for a meeting to some extent, but it's a people's business, so everyone you deal with is going to be different. You know, what's going to work well for some people isn't going to work well for others. So typically in investment meetings, you have, you know, there's a bit of a building initial rapport with people, a bit of chit chat, a bit of light-hearted talk, and then they want to typically know about you, and like you want to know about them before you get into the. This is if you're at a face-to-face now. You're at a face-to-face. You know, you set the scene. Whereas, you know, before, and that's kind of normally, even to this day, what I always expect. I once had an investment meeting, and it caught me off guard because I went in, kind of sat down, and after the handshake, there was no like offer of refreshments or even how was the journey, all that sort of crap. It was just very much like the following sentence was, "What do you want?" And you're like, "Whoa, I'm straight on the back foot now. I did not expect that." And then I bumbled it then because I was way off. I was thrown. I was gone. I lost straight away. So I started bumbling then, and then I was interrupted with like, "You need to get to the point." And I was thinking, "Fuck, this is." Anyway, I fucked the entire thing up, and I left that meeting. It's just like I felt really bad after that, like a proper.
You know, it's an interesting. It's
Well,
an
don't worry,
interesting
Dorian.
anecdote.
It's their loss. It's their loss.
And
Yeah,
I've got another one, Ryan, which is quite
Go on
funny,
then.
but I'll do it. I'll say after yours if you want.
I was just going to say that anecdote. I remember coming into the sector, and you watch a lot of films, don't you? Like over life, and you think that when people are going to be dealing in the 6-figure realms, or especially the 7-figure realms, these are like hard industry businessmen. They're all going to be like, "Oh, you want to give me 100 grand, mate? Well, come on, show me what you're worth." Like, as in, I just always thought it'd be like brass tacks, like difficult conversations, like to raise money, because I didn't know, I didn't have the experience. I just assumed that, you know, arm up if you're going to go into these kind of conversations asking someone for hundreds of thousands of pounds. They're not going to be nice about it. They're going to fucking rinse you top to bottom. Turns out you get the odd person that's like that. Generally, you don't want them as a client, and you don't want to work with those kind of people because it's egotism that makes people that way. Most people on balance who've got money are very considerate, want to listen, want to try and give you a chance because they see opportunity in and energetic young people who are doing something interesting with their lives. So actually, it was the complete opposite to what I thought. It was actually just the more genuine and the more level-headed, and the more I could just talk cleanly and understand what I knew, the more chance I had of raising money, rather than come in and go like, "Here's our terms. This is what we do. We're the fucking best. Like, let's cut to the chase. Like, let's get straight down to business." Like, you have this preconception coming into raising money, and I think it's completely wrong.
You just mirror them. I mean, I don't necessarily have too much of a problem because I don't have to raise as much at the moment. But I mean, we're still raising £1 million plus from one or two investors. So it's still big numbers, but it's so important that you get on well with them and that they trust you and you build this rapport. And in Dorian's case, if I went into that meeting, it's like, "What do you want?" Boom, my headline would have been there, and then I'll get them to sort of unravel what they want to know. And I'd have just told them the smallest amount. My headline of my elevator pitch would have been, "Boom, that's what I want." And then it's how we're going to get there and then de-ravel it. But just mirror the attitude, mirror everything about them. Whoever you're speaking to would be my suggestion.
We actually, when we started out, we kind of had like imposter syndrome to some degree as a development business. We would feel like we're doing the investors a favor, and the investors are the most important. And we ended up working with some investors, not all, that are just a load of work. And now we're in a position we actually turn away investors, and we have a rule that if we have an initial conversation with them and they say more negative things than positive things, we won't work with them. And that is such a refreshing ability to be able to make sure that you're taking positive people and positive relationships forward.
Yeah.
I suppose a question for you, all of you, sort of leading on from Dorian's sort of example, who works well under pressure and not well under pressure? So let's say you're on a golf course, you've already fucked up a shot, and now you've got an audience. Is that next shot going to be your best shot of the day, or is it going to be the worst shot of the day?
I put a post out like 2 days ago, which was Elon Musk's wife. I don't know if any of you saw it. About, I can't remember exactly what it was. I should have found it before I said something.
Nudes?
No, I can't.
I
She was
think
basically saying
that
you
video
have to
as
perform
well.
under pressure that other
Yeah.
people would break to all the time and become comfortable working under pressure. You know, that's the difference. And you just train your mind to know that you're going to have this many problems. Yeah, it depends on how much you say yes to. Will balance out how many problems you're going to have versus, you know, how well things are going to go. Go on, sorry.
No. So I was agreeing with you. I think I watched the video as well, but I think most, I suppose especially because I've got a team now, when things get to me, they become quite pressurized. I'm typically on a daily basis dealing with high pressured stuff. So I like I mentioned in the last call, I think the one of the biggest skills traits as for a property developer but also a business owner is to be mentally strong. And the reason that is the case is because you will typically end up dealing with very high pressured scenarios all the time, especially as it gets bigger. And I think I deal well under pressure. The things I don't like are the things obviously I'm not in control with, but like even this office purchase, and most completions, it goes right to the last wire, right to the last day. I'm running around left, right, and center, just trying to do the deal, getting everything I need to do. Contract. So to answer your question directly, Jack, I perform best probably under pressure, but I don't like it. But I probably, but I do it, and
I think that there's like when you're playing a game or a sport, I feel that
I'm just crap at sports.
I thrive under pressure, and I love that, and the best comes out of me, and my focus is so good on under pressure. In business, it's slightly different because you're playing with real stuff. You know, it's but then I definitely think I work well under pressure. Like if I'm on a golf course and someone's trying to get in my head, I'll elevate and overperform on that next shot. And golf is the only other work example that could come to mind. But
it's funny you say that. Sorry, just very quickly, I'm having tennis lessons at the moment, and the tennis coach I'm with, he says that I'm so hypercritical of myself, i.e., like we'll rally and do like 10 really good shots, and obviously he's always going to win because he's the tennis coach. And then when I mess a shot up or lose, I'll get really like what's it called? Like
irate,
critical of myself, not of like rules or how unfair it is. It's just of myself, and he said, I'm hypercritical of myself because I'm just constantly trying to push myself forward. But whenever we're doing like drills or anything, as soon as he gives me positive praise, I start failing. If that makes sense. As soon as he starts, like I'll be standing there doing serves, and as soon as he says that's a great serve, do it again, I'll fuck it up. Because I don't really do well with positive encouragement. I know that sounds weird, but I wasn't brought up like that. I was actually brought up. My dad would he would never give positive encouragement. In fact, he would criticize everything you did, even if it was good. And I just learned growing up to just reverse that in my mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
that's the right way, though, isn't it? It's the sad thing in the modern day where we want to praise kids for third, fourth, fifth place as if they're a participation award. Where real life business does not reward you in that way. Like you're either making profit or you're not. Like, and if you're not making profit, you're going to be in big trouble. And that's this should be meritocracy.
I'd ground you if you were my son if you said that the coach is always going to win, because that totally, you're telling yourself internally you're never going to have a chance. Like my daughter, she says the word can't. I'll spend 15 minutes telling her why we can't use that word. We don't believe in the word can't. It's anything.
We can't use can't.
Put your mind to it, because it's positive reinforcement. If you grew up having positive reinforcement to believe that you can effectively do anything, then you will be able to do anything. It's when you've grown up, when people grow up saying, and they're too critical, it actually puts that thought in. So second you get a positive reinforcement, your brain breaks down going, I can't control this. And then you get so carried away with doing a good shot that you fuck up ultimately anyway.
I mean,
I grew up the same way, but
my PMA, like positive mental attitude, is like, granted there might be someone that's better than you at something, but if it came to a judo wrestle, I could probably beat the tennis coach up, but he might beat me at tennis because that's his thing, and I'm wrestling's my thing. Like,
If you wanted to get to the skill level to beat the tennis coach, like you said, it's possible, but
you do 10 hours a day, 6 months, you'd beat him.
Whilst you're learning as a newbie, statistically, it's impossible pretty much to beat him. So
right, next week you need to come back and say you've won a game against him. Just
I think
but
we'll put a call in. We'll rig it.
Talking about talking about pressure, I think there's just for anyone out there, I know that the four of us maybe have gravitated towards each other because we're quite well-centered people. Maybe we recognize that in each other, and I definitely know other people in our space and have met other business owners who are not very good with pressure. Typically, they may not scale as quickly, may not take on as many risks, or maybe nervous and worry about too many things. So they don't want to hire those staff members. And I think dealing with pressure generally comes down to how well-centered you are. And where, how good you are at dealing with, emotions and understanding other people's emotions, how good you are at critical thinking. But fundamentally, underneath all of it, it's just how seriously you take things. Like, how serious is
How
it
much you
if
want it?
you, yeah,
How
like,
much do you
well,
want it?
yeah,
If you
there's,
really wanted to win against the coach, you would do everything possible. Every hour, every waking hour, you'd be down the fucking tennis court,
yes,
whacking the ball against the wall.
I 100% agree with that, but that doesn't necessarily make you well-centered. Like, well-centered would be you go, like, if you took that to the nth degree, that example, and some people do in business, that they're so determined that they will kill their competition to get it done. Like, they are like dogged animals. But I think there's a balance between being super determined, but also accepting that at the end of the day, it's still a game. It's not that deep. You don't have to like have sleepless nights over it. You don't have to let it, mess up your relationship at home. You don't have to be a prick to your staff just because you want to get something done. You can just be well centered as well. And I think dealing with pressure and being centered as a person are quite important things. And they come down to I think an underlying belief system and understanding of like a global worldview. Like, if people are maybe more inclined to be religious in some way, they might take things too seriously, or if people think too much about money or they're too worried about failure, you genuinely just got to kind of be like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to die. So if it doesn't kill me, it'll make me stronger. And that's where I need to leave it at work, and then get back home and try not to carry that into other things.
Yeah, I've got
think
a question for all of you. One word answer. In your business and in your career, would you say you're either, and you'll be both of these, but which one are you more so naturally? So are you either naturally gifted at what you do, or are you a hard worker? And I believe that that's like a
Hard worker.
almost, so
Hard
you might,
worker.
sorry, hard worker, Dorian, Stuart.
I'm naturally gifted at the things I enjoy, but I work hard. I don't know if I'd say hard work. I
Right,
get up every day, go on way.
Yeah,
right.
hard worker. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same. So for listeners out there, you don't have to be amazing at something. Just put the work in and it'll come.
I mean, to be honest with
Amen.
you, if you build a business big enough, you'll find out very quickly that you are just like the best leaders and managers. That your whole job is to find a business strategy that there's a market for, customers want, and then bring in people who are better than you at the key like divisions or roles to feed that cycle, that business cycle. And so they smash it. So you have people in every division, basically A players, smashing out better than you could, and your job is just to make sure that that strategy is working, the financials are working to cover all that, and there's a plan to scale, blah blah blah, and the other opportunities that come with it. In my opinion.
I think
Agreed.
I think that there's an element of luck, because whilst I think we are all hard workers, like we've known each other long enough to, I think, agree with that sentiment. Um, there is an element of luck with gifts. Like, some people aren't as lucky. These sound trivial, but these are important things when it comes to human dynamics, raising money off of people, building a team. I think all four of us have a salesman within us. We've all got an aptitude for sales. Some people just don't. They just cannot sell, but they might be really, really smart at planning, or at design, or at construction, or something else. And I do think sales is a learnt skill, but definitely you can have natural traits that are more inclined to speaking to people, and like being able to divulge issues and like solve problems and talk your way through those and make them sound good, and positioning things as sales. I think you're either good at talking and you're naturally lucky to be that way, or you're not, but you have a domain expertise that you can maybe leverage in another way that people like us maybe can't. Because I don't think one of us here is a math wizard or like a data analyst. So we can't sell a prospect or an investor on that point, but we can sell them on our personality, on our experience, the way we position things. Yeah. So I think we
Passion
maybe
equals
have.
performance.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a spectrum, isn't there, of people who have some lucky aptitudes that their DNA or their parents have just ingrained in them from a young age, and then there is just hard work to just get shit done. Because without hard work, you're fucked anyway. Like you need to put the time in.
I think Jack said it on the last pod about the hierarchy of needs. That's so important as well, because you need to have all these foundations built to be able to perform at your best. And if it depends on where you are in your own journey, but you need to work on everything to perform at your highest level. And it's a never ending journey. You know, we're all going to die. We're all going to get to that point, and we're going to look back and go, "Did I work hard enough? Did I spend the right time and the right things that matter most?" And you know, you've got to take family into account, the lifestyle you want. You know, when you're young and you're under 40, I think the world is going to go on forever, and you can do whatever you want for as long as you want. But there will come a time where that pivotal moment will change, and you just have different requirements out of life, I think. And most of my uncles who were quite successful and ran kitchen companies and all sorts, they all said they got to like sort of 40 to mid 40s, and just the priorities changed in life, and you value things more than other things. So just work like a nutter while you're young.
Dorian and Ryan, I know Stuart does. Do you two feel old?
I feel older than I did yesterday.
Yeah,
I
feel so old. Ryan, do you? Or do you still feel young?
Ryan lives in a frat house, so he still feels young.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I
let's
equally lost.
Let's do some chocolate weed.
Yeah. I also lost my hair at like fucking 21 though, so that was a bit of.
I'm more referring to like career and life aspirations more than just something like your hair.
I hate talking about myself in like these sorts of ways, but I think people can relate to this, and I think all of us here can relate to this. But growing up, I was always told I was wise beyond my years. So I'd ask questions in school, or ask questions of my parents, question religion in like a deep way, trying to rationalize like, but why are we a Christian family? Like you don't go to church, you don't do this, like, and why would God be real because of this and that? And they'd always say like, you're thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking about for another 10, 15 years. And I'm just like, yeah, but it bothers me. It winds me up. And growing up and now I'm older, I understand that I was challenging status quo, doing things that adults generally do as a kid. And I'm not saying I'm unique. I think that's quite a common thing for people who generally want to break outside the box in the educational system and think ahead. And I've always hung around with older people. Like I've always felt more comfortable around people who are older than me, maybe because I like that they know something I don't, and I can learn more from them quicker than my peer group, where you kind of just are fucking about, chilling out. I can't have the same kind of conversations with my peer group of my age than I can with, say, you three in this sort of dialogue. I think I've always felt that way. So I've always felt older than the years put on me. And I think my hairline going back was just an analogy for that.
Any of you think that you're running out of time?
Yes, all the time. It's a scary thing. I think time's gone faster since COVID. We talk about quite a lot here at work. Like, I just think time's like, it's so skewed now. It's like the last year's just gone so quick, and weeks go by, and every weekend comes around super quick.
The only thing that anchors it is payday at the end of the month, isn't it?
Yeah, payroll.
Painful
VAT quarter.
Week.
Every VAT quarter is a big one.
Yeah,
we're a VAT receiver, so
Good time.
Do you guys agree with that? Do you think since COVID, because that's the only thing I can tie it down to, because before that, I don't remember time going that quickly, but it's like COVID changing so many societal norms and like the patterns of our days. Like, I feel like since then, time's just felt like it's disappearing.
For me personally, I wake up like probably you all, and there's major things I've got to do in that day, and then there's also meetings I've got to attend and things. And by the time it's all said and done, the days fly, and then you've got stuff with the kids, and then so the evenings fly, and then you do it all again. And because it's kind of like that, so, like entrenched, it goes so fast. It just goes so fast.
Jack, I don't think I feel old. I think actually I feel like I'm still. I mean, just the realism as you guys were talking earlier about being young and obviously going through these feelings, it immediately took me back. And I don't feel like I'm old. I'm only 39, right? So, but I'm trying to preempt myself to know that when I get to my mid 40s, I'm going to have a fucking crazy midlife crisis. And if I keep talking to myself about getting old, it might calm me down, and you won't see me turn up in a Ferrari. I'm just going to go, fuck it. Exactly. I'm just going to go buy a Ferrari. I don't need a car. I don't want a car. But I feel like these are the things you have to do in a midlife crisis. So the more I can talk to myself about it, the more I can contain my
Yeah,
our
sorry,
problems
Stu. I
coming.
didn't necessarily mean feel
You-
old. I meant
Age discrimination,
compared
mate.
to us two.
Yeah. 3.
Um,
Yeah, these two. Yeah.
you are. I was talking. I'm actually older than both of these bloody nuggets, so I was actually referring to both of them.
I didn't
Yeah,
take
how old are
offence
you,
to it,
Jack?
mate.
I'm your
Jack, you're
little brother. There's
33.
only a few years between us.
That's it,
So
mate.
you're 33 or 34, aren't you, Jack?
I'm 33.
33.
Comes around quick,
Fuck.
boys. You'll be celebrating your 40th before you know it, and then you think,
Oh, it's
40 used to be
my
so old as well.
My 30th coming up next year. I'm 29 now.
Dude,
And last year, the
dude.
20s.
So your 40th is this year.
It's March next year.
What are we doing?
I'm counting down to 4 months.
Vegas,
What am I doing,
baby.
mate?
Ground up pod.
We'll do a 40th special. We'll make it. Yeah, no plans, mate. No plans. Probably. Well, I've got a 2-week cruise booked with some good friends of mine, and got a few little projects. Get a few Formula Ones.
I'll. You've got my address for the invite, haven't you?
Mate. I'll set up the WhatsApp now, mate.
I've got one for you then. Just speaking about age, I don't know if you guys agree with this. I know my missus sometimes finds contention with me saying this so boldly, but I always believed that I might as well give up my teens and my 20s and probably the best part of my 30s and just give it up to work and just accept that those younger years are the times where you can take on huge risk, the time where you can just throw yourself at anything. You've got the natural energy that our physiological body can cope with, and to throw yourself at something to make a success of it, to then live the rest of your life ideally, as Stu's like sort of relating to now, going into your 40s, where you can be a little bit more chill, and because you've made success, you've built assets ideally. But the idea of going out and enjoying your 20s too much, to me, feels like a waste of time, even though I really want to do that and I want to be able to just go and fuck about and go traveling and go camping. Like the allure to do it is there, but I know that I'd much rather just give this time up now, because most other people won't do that, and they will fuck about in their 20s and play catch up for their 30s, 40s, 50s to go the standard way around life, retirement, state pension, things like that. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I personally think that, and by the way, Stuart, for your 40th birthday, I've got a good idea. How about you come skiing and we can celebrate on the slopes? But no, serious one. And I think, right, because you touched on a key word there, like you're playing catch up, but kind of catch up to what? I think the biggest thing really is that as long as everyone's got their own individual plan of what they want out of life, like that's, I think, the biggest thing. Not everybody needs to be a billionaire. I think if people were on a £10,000 a month recurring income, life, you'd have a very, very high quality of life in most areas, and there's still some areas that would just pay the mortgage, but most areas that would be good. I just think we personally, the four of us, and then obviously others out there too, are just wired different. And you just got to find your path that connects with your wiring. And I do what I do, not necessarily because of financial gain. It's just because it's my natural forte. Like I want to build businesses. I want to build teams. I want to be as big as I can. I feel I get self-challenged, kind of like what Jack does. And as I see others and other businesses, and I'm like, I just in my head, I was like, challenge accepted. It's like, yeah.
I actually I came up with a recent analogy that this sort of defines that us, the collective. I was listening to a podcast with James Sinclair and what's his name, the marketing guy, Daniel Priestley, and what I loved, and this is how my brain works, is they were talking about winning the lottery and how neither of them want to win the lottery, because then it's just cheating and they've got to fame and success without the right graft, brain power, resourcefulness, team resilience, success. And I think that an easy way to describe a story is there's people that want to win the lottery and there's people that don't want to win the lottery. And I feel like we're in the camp where we wouldn't want to win the lottery because there's no satisfaction in that and there's no journey to deliver that. And that's why we do what we do, because fundamentally we thrive and enjoy that.
Sorry, Jack, but it's so funny you said that, because obviously I talk about the financial struggles of building this capital intensive business, and we've all got cash issues because of the pipeline and the growth. And it's funny because literally last night my wife said to me, "Oh, I'll buy some lottery tickets tomorrow," and I said, "No, I don't want." because I never play the lottery. I never buy it. I never play it because of the same thing. Even though I've got all these, I know that if I had, X million, even though statistically it's very unlikely you win it, but obviously you've got to be in it to win it, it would make life a lot easier. I never play it because it's not part of the game, really. It's don't get me wrong, if I meet an investor and they want to lend, then that's a bit different because you've got to close them as well and blah blah blah. But I get your point, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just
like
to say on that point, Jack, my cousins who I was very close with growing up, we see them twice a week and all that. They got involved in the internet. I won't go into what they do or who they are, but let's say they make 100 grand net profit, 150 grand net profit per month. And my cousin said to me, she's 18 months younger than me. She stuck with me 10 years ago. She said, Stu, just in whatever I was doing, and we would talk about passion and all the rest of it. She'd say, just enjoy the journey of making the money, because when you actually make the money, everything then changes, because then what do? The thing that drives you to keep going and to keep trying to, get to where you want to get to is the fun part of business. The second you get there, if someone gave you 10 million quid today and said, well, there's 10 million quid today, 10 million quid next year, 5 million quid the year after. Yes, you might enjoy it for 12 months and do the new experiences. But once you've done the new experiences, how many times you need to go on a yacht or go out in a Ferrari or take a private jet to go, this is just a chore. It's not the money that's the driver.
That's why it's so important to love.
Game. Just enjoy each day.
That's why you got to love. You got to love building shit, innit? Like if the best people with money are the ones who just love building stuff. Like the money's just a byproduct of building things. Yeah. And that is.
I don't get out of bed to go, I'm going to try and make 15 grand today. Never. You don't go, right, I'm going to try and do a deal. Yes, I like to try and have targets. And if we can do a deal that makes £1 million, that's great, because that's a new experience. We're making these numbers. We can make that into a bit of a process. But I don't get out of bed to make the £1 million. If the £1 million comes, if 600 grand comes, or we lose 100 grand, that's the risk we take as capitalists, as entrepreneurs. But yeah, it's just the journey of learning.
I want a whole team generating deal flow, left, right, and center in the future. Development deals, business deals, every type of deal under the sun.
Yeah, meal deals.
Meal deals.
At the mill yesterday, we were sitting on the table and someone said, so what motivates you? And I said, the main thing that motivates me is having enough cash flow coming in to support the team I've got around me, where they become neutral for me, so I can do what the hell I like and they've still got some security. Because to build a culture and a team you care about, you need to physically care about them. And if we can secure what they've got through cash flow, I can't wait to turn to them and say, right, that's you secure now. You're having no more salary. It's how many do we want to develop? And if I can build this machine where they are self-motivating, self-fulfilling, to go out there and take a profit share of each new project to run it more efficiently, to increase the profits, to get a slice of it, then that's as close as a lot of them who haven't got all the skills necessarily or want to run their own business. That's the closest they would get to running a business where they are in total control. And then I can pretty much do what I like and just sit as a chair and just sign off new deals, a bit like what Dorian does in his monster company.
We're actually classed as a small company. That's the thing, right? It's like,
mate, your logo was on the board last night and you got all these SME builders there, and then I was like, good old.
I don't think you are though, D.
You're a massive machine, mate. 250 units. That was probably one of the biggest.
I think you've actually passed. D, I think you've surpassed the threshold of small companies.
Units. It needs to be value.
We're still classed in the SME, obviously, a business. So
we're not small. You're medium.
I think a medium development company is over 40 million.
So you don't like positive criticism, Dorian? You're doing tremendously well, mate. It's the reason the three of us wanted to do this podcast was to be more. Obviously, we wanted to be around you more because you're so intelligent and you love to learn and pass knowledge on, which is a different skill set to a lot of people who are successful, who I've met as well, are all. They want to keep everything in, where you're very much to keep flowing and learning and always open to learning. So, yeah, mate, you should be super proud.
I learn from all you guys. Let's get emotional here. Then I rate.
Suck me off.
I rate you all. I learn from you all. But I think I see all the major issues in our business, like you probably all do with your own businesses. And I know I can see where this can go to and where I want to go to. As you can all see, like I've shown you before with the map over there. In my office of UK domination. I also want to go global, but that's
the Welsh are coming back. Coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, national before international.
Yeah, national before international. But as you guys see me last night, I put a screenshot in the ground up chat. I spent last evening just peppering PE firms and VC firms and corporate brokers who connected to family offices, just because I know that. What frustrates me is that if I just had another 10 mil, we could achieve that goal.
You're telling the universe, it'll come.
I mean, I'm at the FOD on tomorrow talking about funding for SME property developers, and it still mind boggles me that someone could go set up a product at a business and a startup and get 5 million. I actually have a prime example of this. A guy I went to uni with set up a food business, like a little West Coast sort of orientated food business. I won't go into too much detail because it's quite a lot of personal information. But anyway, set up a branch, then he set up another branch, then he set up another branch, then he got some seed funding. So that's rounding number one. So he's running a food product that's technically, you need labor. He's on leases, so no assets. And then he grew it for a few years, did really well, got a £22 million valuation, I think. Because McDonald's was looking to buy his business. I don't think he took it, and then he managed to, and I've unravelled this all on Company's House. Took a £5 million loan from NatWest. Like, where the fuck is that for us?
Yeah, there isn't. It isn't.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to think my business is worth more than that. But anyway, and then he's gone pop. And for me, for someone to invest in a lease-based food business like NatWest, we're not talking about John down
massive
the pub.
risk.
Yeah, but I think
Fucking High Street Bank have given him capex, operational costs to grow, and it's just unbelievable. And the fact is, we also have security in addition to what we're delivering as a trading entity. We've got additional security that you could probably lean on, and it's just mind boggles.
they don't want to.
One of the topics that I'm going to be talking about.
They don't want to. The major banks don't want to. They don't want to overstimulate the property market again. They do that. That was the whole issue before 2008. Like, the overstimulus that was provided to the property sector created, it just skews valuations. If you suddenly allow developers to raise, lots of working capital debt from major banks, and the major banks are also the bag holders of a lot of the long-term debt held on the mortgages, they could end up overstimulating purchases, which could create bubbles, which could then create a fall if rates climb. And I think there's a strong reason why they don't do it. And I kind of do respect it, because we're in an asset accumulation game. If we then leveraged a lot of debt to do that, and other people could also do the same thing, the debt that would get into buying a lot of this stock and skewing asset prices would then cause the same kind of cycle as 2008. So it's kind of sensible that they don't do it. But equally, it'd be nice if we could get working capital, at least, where we're not allowed to buy assets. We could just fuel the team growth. But even that's quite difficult if you're working in the asset space.
Well, you leverage a trading business alongside the development business, I think, would be the quick answer.
Yeah, construction company.
I could go and take a few million quid tomorrow for Skyloss if we needed to, and then you could transfer that for intercompany loans and stuff. But yeah, no, it's not easy growing a business and development. I mean, but the thing is that's why if you buy and hold, you are, as you know, Jack, you're building that balance sheet and that strength, which you can then leverage on later on. But it just takes time, and you don't want to rush these things as well. Like, it's so easy to go from X amount of units to 2x to 4x to pop. That's the general journey of 19 out of 20 developers that I know of or have spoken to. Yesterday at this shooting thing, the main thing is this Ben Bollinger, who runs the King's Foundation, and it's like a schoolhood dream that he's just held on to for like 40 years. He was done his 15-minute, 20-minute pitch, and they're tapping into land that's owned by lords and owned by the king and the state effectively. And what they're doing is they're leveraging legacy pieces where money isn't an issue for these guys, and they want to leave something to help the peasants, if you like. They've got like towns and places around the country that they then change. So it's top down. So they basically go to the king and go, right, we want some land, and this is where we want to use it. They don't want to go to big house builders that smash up the same houses.
Got a few friends here and there. You can speak to.
The council then changed the master plan to suit that is now land that is, it's a strategic land that they can start building on. So they get the council on board, and then they don't want to go and sell it to one big house builder. They want to cut it up into 4 or 5 SME builders, and then they're looking like they're doing their thing, and then they're creating actually like beautiful villages and wildflower and where it's not necessarily capital led or profit led. And there's some lovely schemes. I've done about 4 so far, but they're looking at doing a shitload more. It doesn't really. I went just for the shooting because it's a free day out, but it's not really my bag. But for Dorian, it's definitely that's why it's good seeing your name on the board, mate. It was Gyprock.
So what? My name was on the board, was it, Stu?
It was Gypsum, British Gypsum they're doing an innovation sort of 2 hours, 10 minutes, load of different businesses.
But they put our name on the board, did they?
Yeah, on the board of customers that they're proud of working with.
Look at that.
I've done your video, mate.
Not so small, mate. Not so small.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Your
Make it-
reputation
Not
precedes
there
you,
with Red
young
Row and Barrett
man.
Homes, mate.
Look at that. When they've merged now, haven't they? Retro Barrett. Have you guys seen that new house builder that's merged in their name? I don't know
I
whether it
think
was
Retro and Barrett.
I don't know
I
what-
think Retro and Barrett fell through.
Oh, did
No,
it
I
not
don't
happen?
think it did. Have you heard? Have you heard the new name for Hopkins Homes and Tillier Homes? I don't know whether it was a skit or not, but they've
Oh, right.
they've rebranded as Untypical Homes.
Oh no, Red Row and Barrett's back on. It fell out of bed. Fell out of bed at one point.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just.
So-
At what
viewers,
point?
there you
I
go.
mean, this is probably knowledge Dorian now, but at what point?
As the
At
room
what
last
point
night.
do?
I'm doing it backwards.
I mean, this is the most clunky thing we're doing. We're sharing a
Ah,
photo
look
There
of
he
at
someone's
is.
logo.
There he is, boy.
There he is,
Give him a
boy.
name.
Hey.
Yeah, I
It's
did
a
see
good,
that.
little-
Yeah.
good event. It's nice group. Oh, mate, I also there's a hot water heat pump guy. There's a hot water cylinder guy there. Amazing. I'm going to buy 20 off him and try and fill the bank up with them. But effectively, it separates the water. So when you're heating it from air source or gas or oil, it stops the mixation. It's what's the company called? It stops the hot water and the cold water getting mixed. So, but rather than coil the water at the bottom that then has to dilute all the hot because obviously heat rises, they heat the top and then just control the amount of hot water that's needed. And then it sort of learns when hot water is needed and seasonal as well. So actually, if you only need 50% of a tank, which their data suggests that most tanks are over-spec'd, then it will just heat the top section, which will also increase your EPC. So I've got a meeting with him next week. So that's why I go to these things. It's just to meet new,
Little nuggets.
little nuggets.
Little nuggets, mate. Can
share, Stu, share that product when you do
I will,
find it.
mate. Yeah, I will. I'll share it.
Little
Oh, and
review.
also,
Put it in the
sorry,
show
Rye,
notes for everyone.
I'm getting we got a couple of calls. I don't know if it's on the Instagram or I got them directly, but some were talking people are asking about doing a WhatsApp or Discord for Ground Up for followers if they wanted to sort of jump on. I don't know how much more energy and time that would take from us and whether it would be worth it, but I don't know if it's community based and people can ask questions.
Yeah,
and
we
talk
tried to
themselves,
do
so.
we tried to do the Instagram one, but for some reason, we've got 40 people that have followed it. We've never promoted it. It's just inadvertently they've seen it on the bio. But Jack, for some reason, it won't let Jack join it. We've no idea why. What we could do is have a WhatsApp community, which I've set up for Beaumont and Partners. I have like a separate phone, which is a WhatsApp community, and essentially we can drop things in there. But people can't talk in there. They can reply to things, but they can't also talk. So the notifications don't go crazy. But you essentially drop things in, people can see it.
Yeah.
We released it and got like 100 people in within like the first day. So it's quite a
Right,
useful thing.
let's give that another go on Instagram. We could obviously do me from a different account, maybe.
Yeah, I think I tried adding one of your business accounts just to see what happens.
Let's ask the listeners: what do you guys want? Would you want a WhatsApp group? Would you want a Facebook group? Would you want an Instagram group? What?
Yeah, or Discord means that we can set up like Q&As, people, and then obviously they can have like a community and people can talk between each other, and we can sort of chip in and help.
You can do a school
certain
community
questions.
as well, though. A school community might be a better one because it's like
You have to
designed.
charge for that then, though, because school
No, it's
charge.
free. It can there's like it's about like a £70 a month hosting thing. I think we have to pay for, but you can have
I
it
don't
free.
know. They've got some other costs in it as well, mind afterwards. But yeah,
Fair. Can I just go back to this small medium business thing because I'm sure that Dorian's in medium business now. But this is ChatGPT, right? So here we go. When transitioning from a small to medium-sized business, there are several key metrics and thresholds to monitor. We'll go through some of them. So here's one of the thresholds to being a medium-sized business. Generally, businesses with annual revenues of 10 million to 50 million are considered medium-sized. Dorian, do you tick that box?
yes.
Number of employees. A business with 50 to 250 employees is classified as a medium-sized business.
If you include our groundworks division, yes.
There you go. And then market share and expansion. This can be, a little bit subjective. Market penetration and geographic reach, expansion beyond local markets to regional or national presence. You've definitely got regional presence, haven't you?
South Wales, big up
Yeah.
South Wales. Yes, Stu, we did start a rollout into West Midlands early this year, late last year, of the research phase and lots of conversations and using all of our connections, etc. And I also secured terms from an investment bank for a £10 million facility, but there has been some later politics from that, so unfortunately we didn't go ahead with that yet. but it is something I want to pick back up, and I do want to get. So we've identified, looking at my map now and all the research we've done, we could either expand into the southwest, or West Midlands, or the northwest, including North Wales, as logical expansion points to develop another region to get to 300 handovers a year as well, in the social and affordable sector, focusing on site sizes on average 30 to 40 each, so high local impact for those areas. But it is all to do with financial backing. We need about 5 million to launch into another region, basically.
But D, it says here, like you are, there's another one is margins and cash flow operating at a consistent 10-15% positive profit margin, and then having positive cash flow to fuel continued growth, operational capacity. Yeah. And like you tick all these boxes, mate. So you are already a medium-sized
so the
business.
profit margins aren't where we want it to be because of the inflation impact from 21 to 23. But the forecast is telling us that, we can see it now on the sites we're on, the margin has returned. But I think year end 2025, this year end, our turnover should end anywhere between 25 to 27 million for the year. Our EBITDA figure, which is the figure when we look to raise funding, is the EBITDA figure they're focused on, because obviously they could take out our current debt facility, is expected to be in the region of about 2 million for the year. And then next year, we've already got our pipeline secured for both 2026 and 2027 for housing associations already. So no new sites coming in from that. Our turnover for 2026 year end is expected to be close to 40 million, anywhere between 40 to 45 million, with an EBITDA of between 5.5 to 6 million. And then 2026 is expected to be between 55 to 60 million based on our current pipeline, with an EBITDA of around about 7 million. Well, but we'll see.
Well, mate, I mean, you've already made the transition from technically small business to medium business. You're in medium now. Now the next step is large business, and I don't know what the threshold is.
Well, let's see now if any of these funds are interested in going to a large business then, because we want to be multi-regional across the UK. I know we can replicate this model in like 10 other regions across the UK, guaranteed. And I'm the one to head it up.
Boom. Still on the website.
The Welsh invasion's coming, mate. What would you guys say? Another question, like, because I do think about this a lot, but it's not so specific in my mind. But in terms of unit deliverables in your forecast, if you were to go from next year, so 2025 to 5 years out, so let's go 25 to 2030, do you have an idea set in stone on how many units you want to deliver? D, I'm guessing you're going to be probably the most concise on this.
Well, yeah. So the regional, the business plan for us is that the region stabilize around about 300 handovers a year. Like it may naturally go higher than that, but for decent market share, not too risky, consistency, there should always be a space for us to deliver 300 homes a year in our region. So for us, we're going to stabilize at 300 a year. And we'll achieve that in Wales by year end 2027 at the latest, in Wales, and then it'll be the next regions doing the same. And I'm not planning on increasing the 300 bracket. We like I said, we may, but it's not part of the plan. It just may naturally happen. So in the next 5 years, I would hope to be in 2, if not 3 regions, including Wales, with a total handover in excess of 500 to 600. Hopefully 700, but we'll see.
By 2030, you want to be delivering about 700 homes a year.
By 2030, yes, at least, yeah.
What about you two? Have you got an idea on it?
Mine's 200 a year. Southwest England, 200 a year. 4 or 5 schemes a year. Keep half, sell half. That's what we're aiming for.
Southwest.
What's your current? How many units you got in delivery?
We've got 20. Well, when we start Twickenham, which we should have started this month, but we're delayed because of planning, we'll have 27 units.
Yeah. So when do you want to hit 200?
Well, we're gearing up to start from next year. We want to sell four sites of sort of 30 to 50 units, and we're going to sell half to RLs. I've now got an agent who I got details for yesterday from another TDC member who's going to do an intro. But yeah, it's getting in front of the RLs and understanding what they want as a shopping list. But we're looking at sites. We're getting agents coming through with sites between sort of 30 and 50 units, just big office blocks that we can go in there and whack up some plasterboard and metalwork, which is what I see when I look at these sites. So we want to try and focus on bigger stuff, try and remove the 106s and the sill, and then use the capital from that to put our money and bleed it into ones to hold.
So you want to get to
But
within
we've
the
got
next
certain
5
criteria.
years.
Yep, town centres, home counties, near
200 a
train
year.
stations. Yep, 200 a year. That's really the 3 to 5 year target. If we can do that and sustain it, and the company is structured for that, then it's 4 or 5 transactions a year. It's people pleasing and getting in there early to secure the right sites, and just keep telling the universe what we're looking for. But from doing this, people go, oh, are you wasting time doing all this? But it's not, because if you keep telling people, it's there forever, and people who are actively trying to make transactions, we're getting people through Instagram now, through the internet, going,
Oh yeah,
I've been watching what you're up to for the last 6 months. This might be something you're interested. They want 1.5%, 2% for a finder's fee. We build that into the price and put offers out. And if we can get in there when we're up against 6, 7 other developers, we're building so much more cost effective. Like, we're looking at all our numbers now. Like, we're building effectively 40% cheaper than most builders if we run it really well, and if we have real technical drawings and we're efficient, then we should be able to even beat that. So it means we're up against developers who don't do the build costs, and we are that
Like
much more
me.
competitive to purchase. Yeah, but you're quite creative, and you've done it a long time, so you've got this. And there's an abundance of opportunity out there. So the chances of us ever really coming against each other.
I still think Jack's going to end up setting up construction in some capacity. Principal construction. I don't think you'll ever go into the trades, because that's like just not a good idea. But I think you'll get into principal construction because you've got construction background.
He starts
innit?
buying things more south. I'll build it.
I have more of a reason to be in construction than all of you, because my grandfather's construction company is still running.
You're letting the family down.
The family down.
You're letting the family down, Jack.
I think Jack isn't, just because he's trying to prove a point. Like he said earlier, he can do it without falling in the footstep. And I think his own mindset is getting in the way. Lean into it, Jack.
Lean into it, fuck it. Wait, Stu, just to expand on that a little bit. So if you're going to be doing 200 units, typically 40 to 50 apartment schemes, that means what? You'll have like a 2.5 year delivery time. So you'll need to be on 8 transactions at any given time.
Exactly. Which keeps the accounts team, the legal team, everyone we're working with working, almost full time for us. There's enough activity to keep everyone busy and to know where everyone's going. But last night, actually, everyone was a developer contractor. Everyone I spoke to, they do everything in house because they have to. London based.
We have to. There's no.
And they can all take a day out to go shooting.
Yeah, I think we obviously, as you know, we went into the groundworks division, so and that's touchwood adding a good contribution. We're currently trialing M&E as well to roll out over the next year. What will be very interesting, like with our construction management effective business, what it was originally, you can really easily put a plan together to scale that. So that I'm not scared about that really at all. But the thing I am scared about, if we do scale into other regions, is how can you also replicate that groundworks division and M&E division if they work? Because I can control them really well where I'm based, but it all comes down to great people again, and then incentivizing them with shares and stuff like that. So anyway, sorry, that was you, Stu. What about you two, Ryan and Jack?
God, Jack, you probably got a more accurate answer. I probably still need to think about my answer.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Stu, really. So we've currently got about 75 units in delivery, 45 million in value, which is a good size. It's kind of like our real bread and butter size that we've been growing to critical mass and funding from previous deals and profits, and really been the sort of pain point of growth. In the next 2 years, I want that to be 100 to 120. And then in the next 5 years, upwards of like 150. The difference, obviously, where we are is, we've got a 9-unit scheme that's 6 mil GDV.
Yeah,
so whereas
massive,
Dorian's probably got to deliver 30 to 40 homes for that, maybe more.
Our average unit price now is 250,000. That's what our average unit price.
Yeah, there you go. So what's that? 28. So we're probably less bullish and more like Stuart, delivering good profitable schemes, and we're probably being a little bit more picky. Stuart, I think that's quite ambitious. 200 in 5 years. You're 10xing your delivery.
Yeah, but the delivery part's the easy part for us. It's the pre-construction and all the development process, which is effectively new to me over the last 4 years. As soon as we've nailed that and systemize it, then we
Oh,
just turn the tap on.
yeah, it's acquisitions, planning, all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
shit.
exactly. But we're just going to use the
That's
best
problem.
we're learning to use to build that and just outsource everything. So when I started, I was very introvert, wanting to keep control of all that process, and then realized
Yeah.
we're so underqualified to do that. We need to use the best we can find who want to work with us. And a lot of it's about selling our systems and who we can deliver. And because we build everything in house, getting them to site and seeing what we deliver,
Yeah.
actually they become supporters of us and want to help us
What
in
are
the
the
generations
technicals there,
above.
Stu? Stu, what are the
What's
technicals there? What are the things you're trying to bring in to cover your gaps in knowledge? Like, just to break it down for people
just
listening.
the development cycle. The development cycle is so it's not A to Z. So when you're running a niche in construction, so in loft conversions, you can break every process down to the nth degree and look at the top 10 issues, build a system around those things, because it's so sporadic. The process is that you need to sort of phase things into sort of 7 main stages and then break down and put someone like you've almost got 7 new departments from acquisition right the way through to sales or exit. And my plan now is to bring in 7 key people for each part of the process. And then my plan will be once a week I have meetings with those 7 people. Most people will report 7 to 1, and your brain can only fathom that many people. I think as soon as you go to sort of 11, 15, it just becomes so hard to manage.
Mm.
But if I can break it down to 7 processes, I have 7 key heads of each process, and then my job will be, like with the lofts, is to put the foot on the accelerator and take the accelerator off based on what our workflow is. So then my next 2 years is to build that process. I have decided to give some equity away to someone who's got 30 plus years in the business, because I think that's just key to get us to where we want to get to. I don't want to spend the next 10 years trying to build this. So if I can shortlist the top key things that go wrong and then nail those, and then it's a case of turning the tap on. Getting to that number is actually not difficult if you've got a key team behind you backing up each section. So that's where my
Leveraging a
next 3
resource.
years.
It's
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
difficult. It's not impossible, but there's
It's not.
obviously
It's actually quite
time delay.
straightforward, high level. But as soon as you break it down high level and try and fill the tap up, there's cracks everywhere,
Yeah.
and you need to fill everything first. Build.
Yeah.
It will take
The only thing
2
I'd say
years
about
to do
that,
that.
the only thing I'd say about that, Stu, and I fully, my actual mindset is exactly the same as yours, is that you're also going to have to be, which no doubt you already are, aware that the reality is that you're never going to be able to solve them all. There's just too many moving parts in it, and
Mm.
what you actually have to have in place once you've got enough of the system in place is actually another process for very quickly capturing issues and solving them as they come up, because that's also a critical part in development, is that you can't capture them all. There's way too many. You just need to be able to, however you do it, whether it's through meetings or reports or inspections and check off points and blah blah blah, you have to catch them and dive on them and solve them ASAP when they come
Or
up.
or you have the discipline and not the shiny penny syndrome to make sure you fill your book up, your factory, with the same building type. Because it's so easy to get carried away with what comes on the desk to go, oh, that's exciting, and see the opportunity. But actually having the discipline to go, does that fit our business model? Because there's 1,000 things you can do, like in construction, you can do conservatories, full house refurbs, lofts, extensions. If you focus on one thing or one product type or one building age criteria, like we've got a certain framework of building, a
Sure.
certain size, certain
Yeah.
geographical location, and if I can throw the same product on at the front end, those endless list of problems will be reduced to
I would
5%.
I would agree, but
That's
there's
a discipline.
one. There's a couple variables that I do think Dee's absolutely right. Like, and I know you know this, Stu. Anyway, you can't account for everything, but one clean variable is you could have the same building type, and we do this a lot with the commercial to resis and the HMOs. We're doing the same stock really in different locations, but the way one council could interpret planning compared to another council could be the difference of 6 months in the planning system, and
Yep.
that 6 months, that could be 6 months more interest, 6 months less of continuity of works for the construction department, 6 months less dilution of overheads in the development department. There's so
Bridging
many
costs.
rigid costs. There's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
so many
totally.
like fucking.
But the best thing about it though really is, and I believe this with every business, setting a business up with that goal in mind, Stu. Like we have that goal here. We've still not managed to crack it at all. But the goal very much is, like, I just sent out a monthly report now, and in there for the technical team, the target have overdue and outstanding RFIs because we have a software and it links from site, is zero. But the reality is it's never zero. But we're trying. Like it's there. It's just shit comes up, and every site's slightly unique.
So yeah, we're at like £420 to £800 a foot, very similar to Jack. He's sort of north of the M4 and up to Oxfordshire, and we're south of the M4 down to Guildford. M3 A3 corridor up to sort of Twickenham, Richmond and stuff. So like if we aim for 200 and we get to 120, happy days. If it works at a certain size, we will hit that critical mass where we'll be comfortable. But I think realistically, in my mind, it's not unachievable to get to 200 units a year in the southeast with a working system that requires 10 hours a week.
You can tell the Welsh and the Darlow. I don't count in units. I don't give a fucking monkeys how many units I'm delivering. It's all on value. Because, like Stuart said, our London scheme is 6 million gross development value, and then we've got a scheme the same size in Marlow, which is 3.5 million GDP. And for us, it's all about value. We could be delivering
for us, though, because the exit is going to be probably to either a house builder that value unit is all about. A lot of it is about units.
Yeah, sure.
I actually care about units as well because I'm caring about the workflow of the dry lining
all
team.
All our clients, unit led, have all got unit targets.
You don't care.
I'm not interested.
You don't. Yeah, it doesn't.
If
matter.
anything,
you work to a margin. You work to a margin. I'm working to cash flow because I can build on cash flow, and I know how many units and how long it will take per unit to build, and then I can build all the infrastructure around that many units. That many kitchens need to go in.
This is a very interesting example of like developer and developer contractor, like key metrics to track. Like obviously for Jack, like GD, like if he can get more bang for his buck out of less units, fucking hey presto, that is like beautiful. And that is exactly what a developer should be doing. But if you've got a developer contractor, well, it's slightly different because if you're relying on continuity of works, well, then it's really important you've got like a predictable pipeline of delivery. So there's a different pressure there, but equally more margin.
I'll take less margin. Looking at that, I'll take less margin of the job to keep the continuity. I would value that over having a 6-month gap in the schedule to make twice the amount in the second half of the year.
But that's so different for me because I don't need the continuity. I haven't got the same overheads.
Yeah, that's what Ryan was saying. That's what Ryan was saying.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, Ryan.
Sorry, Jack. Just to define yours.
So we want to get to a rolling. Our current target is to get to a rolling turnover target of 50 million a year. So we're currently delivering 45 million on stock, and our average site takes 18 months. So to realise that, it's got to be about 80 million in delivery, and we think we can get there in about 2.5 years, which would transpire to probably be 120 units.
120 units a year. Interesting. Is that kind of?
That's only a 3-year plan.
Any of them to keep, or are they going to be sold as well?
Oh, we're big sales process at the moment. We just think that one really painful thing that we've done is we've kept half, sold half to date, which means we currently sat on. If you look at our assets and liability, morning, Amelie.
Hello, Amelie.
If you look at our A&Ls, it looks really healthy, but it doesn't fund and grow the team, the business, the resource, the surveying company, reinvestment into HMOs. It just doesn't do all of that. So we've been cash strapped, and one of my biggest regrets is not selling enough. We're selling probably 75% of our stock that we're currently in delivery on, and then after that, we're going to sort of, I suppose, take count and see where we go.
Yeah.
So and how are you feeling about the sort of market sentiment with the selling at the moment? Like I know we've gone through a pretty fucking rough couple of years. The next few years.
I mean, the market has been really, really difficult. We've just launched our 2 weeks ago. We launched half of our Thames site to market, which is 20 flats in total. We've finished 9. We launched 9 of them to the market 2 weeks ago. I think we've already sold 6 in 2 weeks.
Oh, amazing, mate!
Reservations.
Nice.
If you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd have been like, yeah, I don't really know. We just have to wait and see. Obviously, all of our schemes, apart from our London scheme, are refinanceable. They stress test up. We don't need to put cash in. So which would put us in a good position to hold. But the reason we want to sell is, for an example, our deal that won Deal of the Year in 2 different award categories, which is St Helens Mill. We basically made £1.3 million worth of profit from refurbishing 14 flats. That 1.3 is stuck in the deal. We've refinanced it, and it's kicking out 30k net income. which is absolutely diabolical for the amount of equity and profit that's been made. And we looked at if we had sold that. I mean, we still could. 1.3. Well, it's actually shared with an investor, so 700 grand in our business would be absolutely game changing for us right now.
Yeah, that would be game changing.
And that's
Yeah, but you're
net.
making 56 grand a year in that in capital and rent increases. So you're making about 3.5% a year on rent and about 4.5, 5 on capital
Yeah.
Well, it's
appreciation.
going to invest. I think it depends on if it capital appreciates more. I don't know what. Obviously, I don't know the values or anything, but the return.
Yeah, but you've got to bear that in mind if you've got a
This is
property
what
holding
trading
company.
business
Yeah,
can
so-
generate is
So my qualm with it is a HMO that I own, which owes me 30. I've got 30 grand in it, and it makes 54 net a year, and I could buy 10 of those with that money.
Yeah,
It's just anyway. So yes, mainly selling. Rye, your go before Stu's got to do what Stu does.
Yeah, Steve's got to go in a minute. So quick one. So I think I spoke about this before. At the moment, we're in delivery of 50 HMOs a year, and that's like the HMOs sort of boxed off. We want to deliver 50 HMOs, and then we've got 130 apartments in the pipeline at the moment across multiple schemes. We just added another 9 this week. So we're trying to move from the HMOs to the commercial to residential apartments. But bear in mind, we offer a development service. So some of that stock we don't own. Well, majority of the HMOs we don't own. That is for clients. And then the apartments, I think only 2 of those schemes do clients own, and we don't actually own them. But the rest
What's
of them, I
the
think,
average value of an apartment up in?
I mean, anywhere between 75 grand to 150 grand would be the range.
Yeah.
So that's why units to me, it's completely different economics to me. So similar for D as well. Like it's all about units because the disparity between cap values in different areas is so minimal. Unless I'm in central Newcastle, central York, or central Richmond, which we don't operate in, then really it's a unit game. They all work out about the same GDV. But longer term, we want to be doing obviously more of the apartments, and if we can get to about the 250 to 500 apartments a year, that would be where ideally I'd want to see the business going on 20 to 50 unit sites. But it's just not our priority right now to focus too much on the apartments. With more about the HMOs, getting that liquid, and then moving the whole business up onto the apartments. The kind of the way that you've kind of done, Stu, with the lofts, moving from the lofts then into the developments. We're doing the same from the HMOs into apartments, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
but anyway,
exactly. You got to have a dream, haven't you? At the end of the day, I mean, 200 is ambitious, but the way I look at it is 50 units. It's 50 units a quarter, and if you can build a machine to do 50 units a quarter, you're doing something right.
I have no doubt you'll get to 200 units. I just don't think you'll do it in 5 years.
I think we'll be on the challenge accepted.
Challenge
All right,
accepted,
chaps.
mate.
Yeah.
Safe on Big Stu.
Have a lovely week, guys, and we'll see you next week.
We haven't done any of that.
Geezer. Oh shit! Wait, I didn't do an outro. Fuck. Thanks for listening, everyone who's listening. And we release these episodes every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. on Spotify and YouTube. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching us and following us week on week. And make sure you share this with anyone who maybe it may be useful for. Talk about property and business all the time. Thanks for listening.
Let us know what community you would like.
Yes. Do you want a WhatsApp community, Instagram community, Facebook community, Discord?
And also topics, questions, topics. Let's go.
All that fun stuff. Big love.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah.